Stupid Bollinger here, and today I'm gonna be going over the pure insanity of free agency this year. And it would be an insane free agency if all you had to look at were the quarterback moves, because usually there's not too many and there's hardly ever any huge names going through. This year, pretty much everyone, it seems, is on a new team at every position, and especially at quarterback. So, where do we start here? How about the beginning, with the very first moves that were made? And that is the trade between the Chiefs and the Redskins. The Chiefs gave up Alex Smith to the Redskins, who would of course later cut Kirk Cousins, because you have to start one of those, and you don't just take in Alex Smith to not use him. Now, what the Redskins got? On the Redskins side, this was stupid. I understand that Kirk Cousins was going to be expensive, but he's young. He's still got the best of his career ahead of him, and he's a little bit better than Alex Smith was to begin with. Alex Smith has been a game manager most of the time and wasn't really a big playmaker until last season. Kirk Cousins has been a playmaker from the beginning. Now he's got his own issues, but that can also be pinned down to just not having a good roster surrounding him. So the Redskins gave up the biggest name out there, no doubt, Kirk Cousins. And they bring in this old guy, well, oldest, who was making plays last season, but with the receiving weapons of Hill and I believe it's Kelsey. And Hunt. And those are all pretty good options. It's not a great receiving core per se, but it's definitely something I'd like to have. I wouldn't mind having it. It's only one thing away from being great. The Redskins don't have anything close to that at any point on their offense. The O-line's weak, the receivers kinda sucked, and the running back, well, the O-line sucks, it's hard to judge them. So, and their defense sucks too, so it's not even, we think Alex Smith can get us to the Super Bowl. It's just, we're trying to save money and are opting to throw away a future quarterback. And, it would make some semblance of sense if they were close to the Super Bowl and thought that maybe Alex Smith can get them over the hump that Kirk Cousins did just from pure experience, but they don't even have that. So on the Redskins side, unless Kirk Cousins was saying, I will not play for you, this was just stupid. And the events that would have led to Kirk Cousins saying, I will not play for you, would also be the Redskins being stupid. So either way, the Redskins were stupid. Now, what the Chiefs gave up is also stupid. You have Alex Smith, who's played a while for you. You know he has good chemistry with what he has. And he's starting to become a bit more of a playmaker. He's not a great one, and he never will be. But he was doing pretty well and was an MVP candidate. And had they continued with proper play calling, he might have gotten it. And they might have been in the Super Bowl. It's not as stupid as what the Redskins did, because at least the guy is younger, extremely young, like second year young. Patrick Mahomes started against the Broncos defense and led the team to a win. It was a low-scoring game, naturally, and I don't think he scored any touchdowns and threw an interception, but apparently it was good enough to just throw Alex Smith, possibly as he was just getting started. Nah, I just don't like it because the Chiefs were in the playoffs. They mostly had the roster that maybe they get to the Super Bowl. And they threw away that quarterback for a chance at developing better the young guy. And that's most likely going to close out next season by just saying no Super Bowl chance there. In the it's maybe opening up a future window, but they have the window now. They have Kelsey now. The future is not going to have him. They have Tyreek Hill now. They have the really, really fast Tyreek Hill right now. In that future window, they might still have him, but he's not going to be this fast. He will not. That's just a fact. No one keeps their speed that long. And it just baffles me that you're getting rid of this good quarterback while your window is open. Now, maybe they got some good stuff in return. They got a good cornerback for their troubles, so they didn't give up as much, and the move wasn't as stupid to begin with. But I can't say there are really any winners from this. If there has to be, it's the Chiefs. But there's really no winner from this situation. From there, we move on. Where did Cousins go to? Well, it took a while. It took a long, long while, and a lot of bidding, and a unique contract in today's NFL, where everything is guaranteed. The Vikings guaranteed this guy like $84 or $85 million to play with them over, I think it was a 3-year period. I think it was $28 million a year, guaranteed, all of it. Injured, all of it's guaranteed. And on the Vikings, it just kind of sucked me. Like, I'm not completely opposed because Cousins is a good quarterback, and taking him in does make sense. But they had Teddy Bridgewater, who at one point played like a franchise quarterback. Nothing great, but a franchise quarterback. They had Sam Bradford, who at one point was playing like a franchise quarterback. Nothing great, but a franchise quarterback. And then early in the season, before he got injured, he was playing really, really well. Like a great quarterback. And they had Case Keenum, who was playing alright, like a franchise quarterback. They had 3 guys who had shown that they could run this system well enough. And they got rid of every single one. I saw that all of their contracts with Vikings expired same year. I knew that would be a little bit of a problem, because you had no safety valve if the one you chose happened to suck. But I thought they'd take someone. I thought, they'll probably get rid of Teddy Bridgewater. It's been a long time since he's played, and he's coming off of injury, and running quarterbacks don't tend to last that long, so I thought they'd get rid of him. But Case Keenum, I'm always a believer in keep your most recent success. He was their most recent success. I thought they'd keep him for $18 million a year, a 1 year, $18 million contract to compete with Sam Bradford, who'd have a somewhat similar contract. But neither of those happened, and they took Kirk Cousins. Now, what do I think of that? Like I said, I'm okay with it, because they have a window. It is open, but it is not going to be open very long. It's going to get slammed shut soon, especially now that they've guaranteed all this money to Kirk Cousins. And they're taking him because he's healthier than Sam Bradford, he's safer than Case Keenum, and he's a bigger playmaker than any of them. So I get why they're going after him. I get why he's going there, because he wants that ring. And I have a feeling he's going to be pretty successful there. Maybe he doesn't get the ring, but he's got the weapons to make it happen, because they have a really good receiving core up there in Minnesota. Like, Case Keenum, he did all right, but he kind of hit his ceiling. Like, that is the best I think you'll ever see Case Keenum be, because his receivers were just that good. And with Kirk Cousins finally having a complete set of great receivers, he's going to do some great things with them. Speaking of those three the Vikings cut, let's go over where they went. Starting off with my personal favorite, Sam Bradford. Apparently, he's got some serious knee issues, which kinda sucks for him, and it really sucks with where he went, because it's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be a fun time. He went to the Arizona Cardinals, a team with a bad O-line, which is a bit of a problem for an injury-prone guy. He has to face the Seahawks, who, while they've unloaded a ton of their defensive talent, still have a good defensive coach. So they can probably get to the quarterback pretty well. There's the 49ers, who are looking to force him to throw a lot, which will lead eventually to sacks. And then you have the Rams, who he has to face twice a year. They have Aaron Donald, another good person from last year. I forget his name. There's a J to start, either the first or last somewhere. Marcus Joyner, maybe, I don't know. And Ndamukong Suh. So, how he is going to finish this season healthy, I do not know. Now, that's not to say the Cardinals made a bad decision in taking him. It's a 1-year deal. I think it's like $20 million, so it's not that much for a quarterback. And he'll be a decent bridge for anyone they take, either this year or, since they don't really have the capital to move up instead of the Bills, the guy they take next year. I wish Sam Bradford the best of luck. He has some pretty good weapons to help him out. But good God, dude. You better watch your back. Next up, their most recent success, Case Keenum. Like I said before, he hit his ceiling in Minnesota. He had his great receivers, and he showed the best that he could be. And that's alright. We've seen what his worst can be. It sucks. And with the Broncos, will he be at his worst? No. The O-line's bad. It was bad in Minnesota. The receivers, on the other hand, are pretty good. Like, it's not as good as what the Vikings had, but it's still a pretty good receiving core. You have two wide receivers who I think are 1,000-yard receivers. And obviously, you've got that defense, which has most of its pieces. It has the idea of what it can be. And the Broncos are probably taking a quarterback in the draft, I would imagine. So Case is a Bridge guy. So for Case Keenum, if he proves it, he gets the starting job, period. If he doesn't, it was a good idea for the Broncos to take him. So I applaud you, Broncos. You did this right. The only issue is that he doesn't have that great of a ceiling, but you can manage that. He's not meant to stick around. And he's fairly cheap for a quarterback. And finally, the first one to even be in Minnesota, Teddy Bridgewater. He was playing like a franchise guy. He wasn't great, but it was alright. Then he did what all running quarterbacks do, and he got himself injured, and then done. Nothing ever since. Not a single peep. Not a single throw. Except for one. He threw once. It got intercepted. It was last year. It was not pretty. Yeah, he has missed so much time. And as a running quarterback, when your leg is pretty much taken off, was how bad the injury was, you're not going to be running anymore. And if you're a running quarterback and you can't run anymore, it's over. Like, you have nothing else. That was your crutch. That was what you were relying on. You were working out in the weight room instead of studying film because you have to have your running. It is what you have been. It is what you do. And with that gone, you are left with nothing. That is why you see so many running quarterbacks get injured and then it's over. RG3, gone. Michael Vick, one complete season on his entire career. And Teddy Bridgewater let two guys become franchise quarterbacks in his absence. That is not promising at all. So for him, it's probably over. It had barely started to begin with, and it's over. Now, the Jets taking him, was that a bad idea? No, he's cheap. And all they need is a bridge. Like, Teddy Bridgewater is incredibly cheap, so taking him, period, is a good idea because maybe he does come back. It's extremely unlikely, but maybe he does go back to being a franchise player. And he's still somewhat young, along the lines of Kirk Cousins, or maybe even exactly Kirk Cousins' age. So, on the Jets side, good job. You got a cheap guy. You kept Josh McCown. I don't know why you need both, but... And they're definitely going to draft a guy. A bridge, and then another guy. It's clear they're taking a risky player. Oh, that ends everything that happened because the Chiefs gave Smith to the Redskins. That's everything that happened for quarterbacks just because of that one trade. Oh my God. Whew. Are we done yet? No. Oh. Fine, we got a few more names. AJ Mccarron. Remember that guy? Yeah, he stepped in for Andy Dalton and the Bengals after Andy Dalton got a minor injury. He came in and played just as well as Andy Dalton. So, when they inevitably lost their playoff game through really no fault of his, people were wondering, what's he going to get traded for? And the answer was nothing. They didn't. They kept him around, which kind of surprised me. Like, Andy Dalton, you know what he does. You know it's not a fluke. That's just on a couple games like Mccarron may have been. And it's a minor injury. Like, he might have been able to come back in the playoffs. It was a minor injury. So he was going to be back the next season, and he was going to play like he always played the next season. And he did. So why they didn't get rid of Mccarron? It was stupid. His value, the further time went on, the more time and the more years they put between when he last played and then, just lowered the trade value more and more. Until eventually, everyone just thought, I'm just going to wait till they have to release him. And then they had to release him. And they got nothing. They paid the guy money to do nothing when they easily could have traded him for probably a second-round pick. Teams were desperate back then. There were desperate teams for a quarterback at that point. Like, the Broncos. The Broncos would have taken him for a second-round pick, probably. And there's such limited film that I don't know what A.J. Mccarron really is. He did similar things to Dalton, so I assume they're both just play-it-safe guys for the most part. And him going to the Bills on a relatively cheap contract doesn't surprise me. What the Bills will get out of him? A bridge. It's excessively clear. They traded up in the draft to a place they couldn't even get a quarterback, where they couldn't even get anything, really. There's no point of trading up to there and giving away a player unless you plan to use that higher position to then go even higher up with your 2 draft picks. So the Bills, they're taking someone else. They have to. They got rid of Tyrod Taylor. They don't have a choice. They need to take someone. And A.J. Mccarron is going to be the bridge while they develop. But if A.J. Mccarron doesn't get the job done, the guy who they're developing is going to be put right in immediately. Like what normally happens, like with what happened with Deshaun Watson and Dak Prescott and every other quarterback who succeeded. The Bills, McCarron was cheap, he has potential, and at worst he's a bridge for your new guy. Good job, Bills. Best of luck, McCarron. You have nothing to throw to. Speaking of which, Tyrod Taylor. He got traded away to the Browns. And at first that was seemingly crappy for him, but actually good. Because just having Josh Gordon on its own, all on its own, was the best receiving core he ever had. Like, this guy has had nothing to throw to his whole career. And he still did... I mean, when you have no one to throw to, it's really hard to get things done. So Tyrod Taylor, having Josh Gordon, he has someone to throw to finally. He apparently has a good tight end in Njoku as well. Things should be A-okay for him. We'll finally be able to see what he can do. Then the Browns got Jarvis Landry as another wide receiver, and suddenly, out of nowhere, the Browns' receiving core went from pretty crappy with Josh Gordon and an okay tight end to, oh my god, this is terrifying. Like, whoever's a quarterback for the Browns, you have no excuse. You have your receivers. If you can't succeed with this, you can't succeed with anything at all. And Tyrod Taylor, he got traded. He wasn't that expensive to begin with, so good job on the Browns there. They say he is the starting quarterback next year. We all know the reality. He's a bridge. Now, maybe he does come out great, which is possible with that kind of receiving core. But he is a bridge. And quite honestly, he is the best bridge available. No injury history. Decent, but never great play. It's the perfect bridge, and as a result, the Browns, while Josh Rosen may be tempting, will take someone more risky because they can. Tyrod Taylor allows them to take a guy who they have to develop, and develop him, if you believe in development. So on the Browns, great job taking Taylor. On Tyrod's side, things are better than they initially seemed. Like, he probably went to the Browns thinking, I can't catch a break, can I? Then they got Jarvis Landry and was like, I might just like this. And that should be the final straw. There are people who hate Tyrod Taylor and say that he sucks. And with the lack of yards per throw, that kind of makes sense. There are others who say he's great, but he's never had anyone to throw to. He pretty much never throws interceptions, and his receivers just aren't good enough to get those yards per throw. I think there's kind of truth in both of those. I think him not having receivers is what started him not throwing long, because eventually it just got to the point where he was like, you know what, I can't throw long anyway. Let's just keep throwing short. And it makes sense, even though it's not ideal. But now, he has all the receivers he needs. Now we get the answer. Is Tyrod Taylor a good quarterback? We're gonna find out. And I think the final quarterback, who's worth mentioning here, also came about largely because of Tyrod Taylor going to the Browns. And that is Hassan Kaiser. A guy who I couldn't even see being traded. Like, who is going to want him? He didn't do that great with the Browns. And B, why would the Browns move on from this guy so quickly when he could be your bridge? And as it turns out, the Packers wanted him. I can kind of see why. Brett Hundley did nothing after replacing Aaron Rodgers, and maybe Aaron Rodgers goes down again, and you really don't want Brett Hundley a second year in a row. So they're taking Hassan Kaiser, who does have more potential. Now, growing up in the Notre Dame area, kind of, I can say I don't think Kaiser's really that bad. Like I said, last year, pretty much no one to throw to. Like, Josh Gordon was the only good receiving threat, and he missed 10 games. And not only did he miss those 10 games, he missed 2 full years of football or something. So he hasn't played in 2 years. So he's rusty. He has no chemistry with Kaiser, might not have even met him during his suspension period. And that had to cause some issues even when he did come back. And while he wasn't there was no one to throw to at all. Nothing. You threw to your tight end because you could not throw long. There was no one to throw to. That's probably part of Njoku's success. Now, do I think Hassan Kaiser's great? No. But when you look at Mitchell Trubisky, Deshaun Watson, and Patrick Mahomes, Hassan Kaiser has started more games than any of them. Like Deshaun Watson, running quarterback, got himself hurt. Big surprise. Patrick Mahomes had to sit behind Alex Smith. Mitch Trubisky was sitting behind, I think it was Mike Glennon. That's not a good sign. And he didn't get his starts until they gave up on Mike Glennon, which probably should have happened sooner. Hassan Kaiser was the day one starter. Now, he had to sit out for like 1 or 2 games as on the bench because you're looking like you're going to go 0-16. Something does have to change. But Hassan Kaiser stuck around longer than any other rookie quarterback so far from last year's draft. And I liked him the most coming into the draft, and moving forward, I think I still like him the most. Just because Deshaun Watson, A, was really inaccurate. Like, they lost the game to the Chiefs because he could not throw the ball properly. And he put up his big numbers, sure, but when you look at it, he did it against the Patriots, who, look at the Super Bowl. He did it against the Chiefs, who had a crappy defense. And he did it against the Titans, who have a crappy secondary. So he put up huge numbers, yes, but against who? And I usually hate saying that, but against who? Because when he went up against the Bengals, probably the best defense he went up against, it wasn't that... Oh, wait, no. When he went up against the Bengals, second best defense he went up against, it kind of sucked. When he was up against the Jaguars, there's an excuse because he wasn't in the whole time, but he still got sacked a ton. And it was not pretty. He scored the only touchdown for the Texans. Like, I don't trust Watson. I trust Hassan Kaiser more than him. Mitch Trubisky did nothing. In either direction, neither good nor bad. Hassan Kaiser, there's bad, but there was some good, like that final game against the Steelers. 4th down. You make this 4th down, you're in field goal range, and you send this sucker to overtime. He runs to the left. He's got 4th down. He can run for it. But there's a receiver on the sideline. He's wide open. Now, every quarterback in the NFL will see that and take that shot because he's not going to drop it. There's nobody coming for him. I throw it perfectly right into his face, right between his hands. He shouldn't drop that. Except he does. The Browns quite possibly would be 1-15 instead of 0-16, and it was lost not because of Kaiser. So I think Kaiser's okay, but I kind of hate more that he's on the Packers than he was with the Browns. Because with the Packers, he's behind Aaron Rodgers. And the only way he starts is if Aaron Rodgers goes down with injury, which may happen, may not. With the Browns, it would be he'll see play if the quarterback play sucks. And that's entirely possible. Like Tyrod Taylor, he could still suck. Hassan Kaiser, he could once more light it up in preseason and take the job from Tyrod Taylor. It's entirely possible. But now he's basically got no chance to start. And that kind of sucks for him. Like, my one chance to show that I was good, I had zero talent around me. And now that I'm somewhere where I do have talent, even if it's not the greatest, I'm never going to start. So I feel sorry for Kaiser because he got moved to a better team, which is insane. But that is it for the quarterbacks. I think I may have missed one. If so, tell me. And if you disagree with some of my opinions, leave your comments below, I guess. But next time, we're looking at more quarterbacks. Ones that have not yet played.